Hey guys, welcome to NOI Education Services. My name is Lauren Hollows, and this will be our last video of 2024. Hope you guys have had a great year. And today we are going to be continuing our RTO operations series. And what we're really going to be focusing on today is we're going to be talking about defining students and tracking students for better management. Okay, so there's a couple of different aspects to this. As you guys know, I am a big data geek. I absolutely love having lots of data to hand in order to be able to help my clients better manage their RTOs and better understand their RTOs. So the first aspect of this is going to be working with your student management system to start to build some really basic reports. And these reports are something that I would suggest you would be getting on a very minimum of a monthly basis. And ideally, you should be able to be getting these on like a weekly basis if possible. So the first thing we actually want to do is we actually want to start defining what our student numbers are. And I am really, honestly, always genuinely amazed at the number of RTOs that cannot tell me how many students they have, how many enrollments they have, how many active students they have, just those three simple numbers. So when we start to look at who we are defining, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for our total number of students. Okay, so that would be a student that is enrolled into a course. Okay. And I want the total number of unique students because often we may have a student that, for example, is enrolled in a full qualification in a short course. So they might be enrolled into 2 or 3 short courses if we're running a lot of different short courses. Okay. So I want to know what my total number of students is and my unique number of students. Then I want to have generally a breakdown of what that looks like by full qualifications. Okay. And also by short courses. And I generally want those numbers to start to be separated out. Depending on the size of your scope, you might have that for every course. You might have that for, like a training package, just to kind of give you an idea. Like these are the enrollments in our hospitality courses versus our building and construction courses. Or you might actually, you might only have 5 or 6 products on scope, in which case you'll get it by every individual course. And then if I've got quite a large number of students, I might start to look at breaking that down in my fee for service and my funders. Okay. And with my funders, I might even break it down to like my job seekers and my apprentices. But broadly, I want to know where the income is coming in from my business. And the reason for that is that there's a value that's going to be associated with our short courses. There's a profit that's going to be associated with our short courses. And then there's one that's going to be associated with our full quals. And generally, that's where we're going to see like a higher level of profit, or we're certainly going to see a higher revenue coming through. And so I want to kind of get an idea of where my business is sitting. And also, I then want to be able to start seeing trends. So like, are we trending more, like, are we maintaining our student numbers? But what we're seeing is we're seeing a drop in our full courses and we're seeing a pickup in our short courses. And what does that mean operationally for our business? What's the workload that's associated with that? What's the cost that's associated with that? Things like that. So I really want to have a fairly good idea of that sort of information. The next bit is going on to defining who is an active student. And this is definitely where I see a lot of pushback happening with RTO, particularly what I find with like RTO administration and things like that. So for me, it's really important for you guys to have a very clear definition of what an active student is. Okay. So if it's a full qualification, and again, this is where I might look differently at maybe my job seeker courses, which may tend to like go over 3 to 6 months versus my traineeships and apprenticeships, which may extend out to 3 to 4 years. What is an active student within that period? If a student has not engaged with you within 60 days in its job seeker course, they're probably no longer active. Okay. Or at least there needs to be a fairly strong process in place in order for you to re-engage that student. All right. If they are part of a traineeship or an apprenticeship, it may be quite usual for them to go 2 to 3 months without engaging with the RTO. And so therefore the metric is going to be a little bit different as to how we're going to go about setting that up. But what I ultimately want to know is what is that percentage of students that is active? And what I will say is that I've never come across an RTO where 100% of our students are active. Okay, I've literally never seen it. I have also seen RTOs where the active number of students is literally down to like 30%, right? The RTO does not have processes in place in order to properly engage students. And so there gets to be a lot of enrollments, and the trigger from that enrollment into active study, into regular progression through the course is a very, very low. There is a whole range of reasons as to why this can occur. It can occur because you've got crap processes. You can have no onboarding for your students. There are challenges associated with funding, with dealing with state funding bodies. You could have a terrible trainer who is causing your students to come in, engage for 3 classes and then drop off. You could have really terrible training materials. You could have horrible training facilities. There are also, you could have students that, you might have a problem with your BDM process whereby, you've got people selling a specific outcome and that's actually really not what the course is addressing, or that you're promising an experience for a student that you're not then able to follow up. So there are all sorts of reasons why this happens. It is very, very common for me to only see 50 to 60% of students within an RTO actually being active. There are admin and data processes that happen whereby students don't get closed off when they don't show up to a short course. And depending on the student management system that you're working with, what that can mean is that, you are looking at healthy numbers of students, but because they're not progressing through their course and the majority of them are funded, you're not seeing the revenue that you should be seeing. So this is why I think it is really, really important to actually be able to define what an active student is for that particular cohort for your RTO. And often there is going to be a variation. So as I said, short courses, we want to see people engaging within the 30 days, job seeker courses, we do. Again, we want to see engagement on a regular basis. We want to see a unit being completed within every 30 days. Traineeships and apprenticeships, we may push that out to like 90 days, even to 120 days at times between when they're completing units, because, we're utilizing clustering and we're utilizing block training and things like that. But what is the metric that you have? And if you are an RTO owner or a CEO or an RTO manager, if you cannot answer that question that I am asking you, define your student numbers and define what is an active learner for each of your cohorts, then I'm really sorry, you do not have the hold on your business that you need to have on your business. This is really, really crucial to understanding the numbers that you have coming in and the revenue that you have that is going, that is coming in and going out, right? You could have 10,000 students. Guess what? If 10% of them are active, and you've got 20, you've got 60, 70 staff, you might have a problem. Okay. Vice versa, if you've got 9,000 students that are active and, you're running that on 3 admin, I can almost guarantee there's going to be processes that in fact, I'm going to guarantee that there are processes that you're going to be missing unless you have your system automated to Efri. Okay. Which again, it's very, very rare that I see that actually happening in systems. There is probably a fundamental failure happening in the background that you are not aware of. So how you can go about getting this information from different student management systems, it does vary. I know, obviously, as you guys know, I work with Accelerate. Accelerate is the system that I love. I've got about 7 reports that give me all of that data, just depending on the size of the organization and the scope of what they deliver. But what is an active learner is an in-progress learner. A learner is an in-progress enrollment, okay, in a qualification. I can then break that down by my core courses. I can then run that report and then I can just remove duplicates so that I can see my unique students in each of those areas. When I define an active student, what I then generally go to do is I generally go to within Accelerate, I'll go to one of my warehouse reports and I'll look at a report against my students, which is against my enrollments. And then what I'll do is I'll put a filter on there for has completed a unit within, so has achieved a competent outcome within the last, 30 to 120 days, again, depending on the cohort that I'm dealing with. And you can filter that with your courses and stuff like that as well. That I think when was the last time that they completed a unit is actually the best one. I think starting units is not a great indicator. And the reason for that is that RTO's processes on commencements vary. And a student might commence 10 units, but if they're not completing them, in the vast majority of state funding models, it means you're not actually receiving any revenue. But also, if they're not completing the units, to me, that's the risk indicator, right? The fact that they are not able to achieve a competent unit outcome, that's the risk indicator. And so that's what we need to be addressing. So the things that I think that you should be doing is making sure that you are getting a regular report, as I said, a minimum of once a month, okay, ideally weekly, as to what your student numbers are, what your unique student numbers are, break them down by course, ideally break them down by funding model as well. And then of each of those numbers, that's in one column. And then in the next column, what you're going to want to know is what is the active percentage? What is the active number of those students? And then you do one more column, which gives you the percentage. Okay. And then as an RTO manager, CEO, and owner, you can filter that and you can see where your active students are and are not. And when you look at those bottom percentages, that's your risk indicators. What is happening there? That's where you want to start going and exploring. Who is the trainer? What is the admin process involved? What is the onboarding process involved for the students? That is going to start to show you that's your low-hanging fruit, guys. And ultimately, if you want to improve your revenue and you want to improve your profit and you want to improve the quality of your college, start with that low-hanging fruit. Find out what is happening there and then start to build out from there. So we're keeping that nice and short today. The next one that we are going to be looking at in our RTO operation series is going to be here. I think we are going to be doing completion rates uncovered. So we're going to actually take a look at our completion rates and we're going to talk about why that information is important and how you can utilize that information within your RTO. I hope you guys found this helpful. My name is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services. I hope you guys had a great 2024 and we look forward to seeing you more in 2025.